Greetings, miners and drillers, Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series covering Anoxia Station. If you would like to skip the game's overview or the setup of this series, please use YouTube chapters. It is a mining management game set in a dystopian near past. A supervolcanic eruption devastated the Earth's surface, rendering it uninhabitable. Nations now teeter on the brink of extinction, relying on the Terranauts, miners set into the hellish depths of this dying world. You operate a subterranean mining station where you'll gather resources, confront horrors, and make life or death choices for the survival of your crew. As usual, this will air on YouTube, and I'm going to be playing through the story campaign only on normal difficulty, because this game is pretty rough playing as the Entomologist. So let's just dig right in. So there's three starting heroes, or leaders, or whatever you want to call them. There's the Entomologist, who specializes in fighting bugs. There's the Geophysicist, which can negate some of the magma pools and gets extra tech. And then there's helps injured and sick people return to work, and underground medicine. Station's name is going to be Yodaville. And I am going to be playing on only at normal difficulty because this game is quite hard and I don't feel like having to restart on the regular. So the very hard mode is like rough. There's also a, I forgot to include this in the details, a daytimer mode, which I'll be disabling. Basically it forces you, it's a turn-based game, but it has a time limit on the turn-based games. But because I want to explain the game mechanics and everything, it would be really rough to try to play on the daytimer mode, even though you can pause the game. Because if you don't make enough actions in a given day, the game ends the day anyway. So I'm not going to be playing on daytimer. 1988. The International Transatlantic Mining Corporation sends a mining exploration expedition to the deepest trenches of the Inner Zone. Main objectives: exploration and petroleum production. And I will be playing with the tutorial on. Amidst the incandescent bowels, where jets of hot solutions once surged up to the surface through rifts and cracks permeated the earth, now metal machines roar and oil workers toil. Apart from the extreme radiation levels, constant earthquakes, unbearable temperature and pressure, these people, eaten away by ulcers, bursitis, and scoliosis, will have to face physical anomalies and creatures dwelling in the deep. The extraction must continue at any cost. December 2nd, 1988, Sector K8. Depth, 2580 meters. Probability of seismic activity, 48%. External temperatures, 35 degrees Celsius. Signs of biological activity not detected. Background radiation, 20 microsieverts an hour. And crew alive, 120, sorry. Chapter 1, Wounds of the Earth. The station reached the sector surrounded by an impassable rock formation. Miners held their breath. They keep silence and look around, fascinated by the unfamiliar scenery. It seems none of them have ever been this deep underground before. How much more to drill, and how deep they got already. They all feel the danger approaching. Though no one dares to confess it, fear starts creeping in their guts. But it is quickly swallowed by the greed. Tutorial. Welcome to the underground. You have a highly advanced mining station and its crew at your disposal. You can control the view with the mouse, WASD, arrow keys, and mouse wheel. You can also enable camera following the cursor in the settings. The current priority, to deploy the station to enable stationary mode. So your station can move around, but while it's moving around, it can't really do any work. So clicking on the station here, it wants me to move and then anchor. So the anchor is down here on the bottom right, deployment. Your station is damaged. To repair it, select the station and click on the repair button to restore its durability. From this panel, you can also activate the radar and filtration system. Warning, you cannot build or use structures while the station is in mobile mode. So here is repair. And it cost me 25 fuel. And then filtration. Filtration costs 10 power and reduces background radiation by 30 and temperature by 10. There we go. Build a generator to restore power supply. Select an empty tile and use drilling by clicking on the drill icon to free up space for construction. So I know it's hard to tell, but they're in a cross formation. There is empty tiles to the northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast, and then there are rocks to drill out. So basically, we're in a pit. Initially, you really only have one drill. So I selected the tile to the southeast to drill the 3 adjacent tiles clear. The game wants me to build a generator to restore the power supply, but I don't necessarily want to build a generator in one of these slots, because if I do, I won't be able to drill out the adjacent spots. So instead, I'm going to wait a week, or rather a day, and do it tomorrow. Before I go any further, let's talk about some of the resources. So in the top left, you have the temperature and you have the radiation, and it needs to be kept within a certain variant so that your population doesn't die. If it gets too hot, too cold, or too radioactive, your crew will die. You've got power, and if you right click, you can see what is consuming the power. So right now my power is at 130 and Yodaville is taking 15 of it per day. You've got oxygen. At the moment, we have 80% oxygen, and Yodaville is taking 10 of it a day. If it reaches 0, we die. Terranauts. We have 120 Terranauts, 7 are employed, so 113 of them are unemployed. We have petroleum, not getting any per day. We have 100 out of 300 total storage. So things like oxygen, because it's a percent, obviously only go up to 100%. You can't have more than 100% oxygen. Power is uncapped. It's like stored in a capacitor that has an infinite capacity, as is true with water. Fuel and petroleum, you have finite quantities or storage of, but you can build more storages later on. Then you have technology points, which are useful to build certain things and unlock certain technologies. And natural gas, which will be a resource to be interacted with much later. There are other factors as well, like syndrome, whether people are stressed, delirious, etc. And then innovation points, which unlock additional technologies and the like. You also have days left before a powerful earthquake. Basically, the missions here are set on a timer such that you need to accomplish the goal of the chapter before the powerful earthquake, because otherwise you're dead. You've got radar down here. So right now the radar's offline, but I can click radar and turn the radar on. So here we go. Radar's on. So down in the bottom left, you have the radar icon. So we can display certain things like stone borders or icons. So this icon indicates that I'm drilling the 3 adjacent rocks. We've also got collapse tips if I want to get rid of the tips, hide console if I want to hide the console, which is the log here. And then clicking the radar shows you where certain points of interest might be. If you're looking for a specific resource, you're trying to avoid horrors or something like that. Alright, let's go ahead and elapse a day. Oh, also in the top right, you've got personnel. So we started with the Entomologist, but there are other personnel that you will unlock later on. At the end of every day, you have a summary report of your resources. Depths of the earth, damp, muddy rock, hot fumes billowing from everywhere, metallic hum pressing on the ears. You can hear water dripping, tattered electrical wires crackling, the sound of welding, mineshaft, dirt, dust, swearing. The search for a suitable place for the station continues, but the tension is growing, and it's about to be resolved. Brilliant! Use the drill a few more places to make more room for construction. Don't forget to remove the waste rock dumps from these tiles. You can also interact with the heroes. Click on the human icon in the top right corner. So here's my hero. The hero is Jacqueline Bonnet, who's the entomologist, who specializes in killing and studying bugs. From our excavation, we discovered an underground lake, which we can pump for water. This is a rock dump, where we can clear it with a little bit of crew and a little bit of fuel, opening up space for additional excavation, and in this case, a damaged drill. Your crew discovers a drilling rig. It doesn't belong to your expedition. Did someone beat you to it? No one answers the shout. Only the monotonous beeping of a radio beacon can be heard in the dead silence. Is anyone there? So there will be things for you to interact with. In this case, it's a damaged drill rig, and we can send an expedition to reconnaissance the drill. The red light of the beacon illuminates the collapsed drilling rig. Its drill bit is stuck in the bedrock. The hull is damaged, and one of its tracks is beyond repair. The airlock is hermetically sealed. It will take some time to open it. Do you have the time? So in cases like this, I'm going to give you guys the choice of what to pick. So here's a very quick poll of doing the top option, which is bring the explosives. The explosives will cost 15% of our oxygen, or we can do nothing yet, which will cost nothing. And, ooh, you guys are really fighting over the direction of this pole. All right, we're gonna blow it up. All right, I want to keep digging out the adjacent tiles to make sure that I have room to expand. So I'm not quite ready to build that generator. I'm gonna wait a little longer too. We have a magma pool. Molten primal magma is the blood of the earth, the heat that courses through the arteries and veins of the bedrock, craving to reach the surface and reduce everything it touches to ashes. It's getting hot. So the magma will cause the ambient temperature around our city to increase. So it is now 47 Celsius. Additionally, magma increases a risk of fire at nearby facilities. So that is an immediate adjacent, meaning this tile would be safe, this tile would be not. It is not smart to build next to magma. There are ways that you can mitigate the damage of magma later on, but I don't have that technology yet. All right. Additionally, our expedition to the damaged drill rig has finished. The half-ruined cabin is abandoned. No dead or alive. Most of the documents were incinerated in the explosion. The part that survived turned into a wet mess during the extinguishing. The red Mayday light still flashes annoyingly. One of the miners turns it off. Choice again. We can retrieve the data recorder, which costs 30 power, or do nothing. And it looks like you guys want data. And for that, we received 1 technology point. We spend technology points once we build a laboratory, which I don't yet have. But I will be getting that generator going soon. I'm going to build the generator here. So the building of the generator will tie up 2 of our crew every day. It costs 1 turn and also 40 fuel. And then per day we will gain 30 power and it will cost 15 fuel. Character unlocked, mechanic. Excellent, you have discovered a deposit of petroleum. Some buildings can only be built next to resources. To start extracting petroleum, build a harvester on an adjacent tile. Alright, so now we have a positive power per day. My oxygen levels are getting pretty low. We also unlock the mechanic. So the mechanic has special abilities. It can distill fuel from petroleum. It can build a radio tower or outpost. It can build a boosted generator. It can do an emergency reset, burning fuel and creating power, or use a lot of fuel to repair all buildings, but it has a 7-day cooldown. Alright, I think we need to build a convector to restore oxygen generation next. I will build that. Here. So here's the convector. It costs 40 fuel, 2 people a day. It will produce oxygen at the cost of water and power. And I'm gonna drill this spot. Cheers. Where to show how many axes can be taken each day? You can take as many actions as you want, depending on the resource costs. So I could build generators in every tile here if I wanted to. Not that it would be smart to do. It would just cost the fuel build costs. For tasks, for skills like this, you can only use these abilities once per day, and this one once every 7 days. Same with the pheromone contact, once every 7 days. You can see that little, I know my head's in the way, but you can see the calendar icon there for the 7. So there isn't exactly like a limited amount of turns you can take per day, which is similar to like traditional RTS. All right, I'm also going to spend some power. No, I'm not going to do that yet. All right, so we have the drill going. We've got our generator going. I can hit this button, which costs 20 fuel. You know, I know I'm like constantly in the way. I'll just read what the tooltips say. But it costs 20 fuel, and it will generate power, but at the cost of heat and radioactivity. You know what I'll do? Yeah, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna have to shrink myself. I'll put myself here. That way I'm not in the way. And I'll have to do the same for Yoda. Sorry, Yoda, you're gonna have to shrink. Oh, look at him, all peaceful and stuff. What a cute little boy. There we go. Now you'll know what I'm talking about. So there's the costs. I know it's small tooltips, but it's 20 fuel. It produces radiation and heat, but it does produce power. All right. Next turn, we will have the convector built, and that will restore our oxygen generation. So oxygen is down to 25%. Human screams and white noise intertwine with radio waves. It appears that the drill belonging to some kind of mother station, an Arab one apparently. It remains unclear where the people went to and why they decided to leave such a valuable equipment behind. However, a set of coordinates in the sector KM-16 have been tracked. Most likely, that's where they're stationed now. They are close. Okay. Before we deal with that, in the convector, we can do evaporation. This costs 20 water and will produce oxygen, reduce radiation, and reduce heat. Done. This is an acid snail, a nasty, blind creature that navigates by sound, devouring everything that moves, leaving behind an acid trail. It is an insect, and it happens to be blind. I'm going to open up my Heroes tab and go to Entomological Analysis, studies an insect adding DNA samples at the end. If the insect dies, the study is considered a failure. It costs 20 innovation points. And then, additionally, I can also cast Impulse. Impulse does electrical damage to a single target, but because I'm doing a study of the acid snail, I don't want to do Impulse. Start extracting with the harvester. I'll do that in just a minute. What else can I do? Yeah, that's all I want to do this turn. My temperature and radiation are pretty good. And generator is humming. Okay. The acid snail attacked my Yodaville home. I'm going to use Impulse on the snail, doing critical damage. It's down to 88 hit points. And then I'm also going to cast Insecticide. So my hero has 350 samples of insects, and I'm going to use 55 of them, dropping an insecticide around the acid snail, which does damage over time. Additionally, I'm going to go to Yodaville and repair it to bring it back up to a full 180. The rock dumps up here. Oh, there it goes. Is dead. Right here, I'm going to build a harvester to start harvesting the petroleum. And I'm also going to mine out this section so that I can start to pump the lake. The convector is now passively adding oxygen per day, so I don't really need to worry about that. But I am nearly in a net negative situation for power, so I'm also going to build one more generator. So that I have plenty of power to be able to use the impulse laser and to keep the other buildings productive. Because a water pump is also going to require power as well. Character unlocked, the Foreman. These weird symbols here are like timed events, so I click on them as fast as possible. Amputation. The worker is caught under the drilling rig. His leg is crushed. The wound is contaminated with rust and soil. After the examination, the doctor suggests amputation, but the worker does not want to lose his leg. Besides, being maimed and unable to work, he will lose all value for the expedition. You guys are going to have to make this choice. Top option, amputate immediately. Middle option, give him antibiotics and put a cast. In time, it will heal by itself. Or send the worker back to the surface. Alright, you want to try to heal him? The worker developed gangrene and died of sepsis. Apparently, it did not heal by itself. Good job, chat. You murdered him. I'm proud of you. First murder 200 leagues under the ground. All right, rock dump clear. And let's dig there again. There is additionally a suspicious tunnel that has a source of strange sounds. And we can also clear out old tiles. So this old damaged drill, I can remove if I want to make way for more construction. Start extracting with the harvester. So we click the harvester here, and in the bottom right, we have extraction. It will cost 25 power. It will generate 10 heat and 10 radiation, and also 125 petroleum. We have 200 storage, so that works. Extracting. And now the petroleum reservoir here goes from 3 out of 3 to 2 out of 3. Next, it wants me to build a refinery. So a refinery turns that petroleum into fuel, and fuel is sort of the heartblood of our mining expedition. Almost everything costs fuel. So there's the refinery getting built there. Extraction is very energy intensive. If your buildings consume more energy than you produce, build additional generators or upgrade the existing ones. So, a level 1 generator burns fuel to produce electricity in a 1-to-2 ratio. And then you can also build a hydro generator, which will consume water instead. Because I don't yet have the underground lake pumped, we probably shouldn't drain our entire water supply that way. I also forgot to mention, let's open up the foreman. So the foreman is Nut, and then the mechanic is Thea, and he allows you to build a repository which reduces the daily fuel loss, and a harvester. And then she, I already mentioned, is the generator in the radio tower / outpost. All right, the next turn is build a refinery. Water's going down, fuel's going down, but the refinery will help that. And pretty soon I'll have a oh, we have a magma lake. That's not good. Ambient temperature is going up quite a lot. So I'm going to go to the convector here and use up some water to reduce the ambient temperature from 72 to 52. And then likewise, I can go to Yodaville and do filtration to lower temperature and radiation. So now it's a little bit more livable. Use distillation to refine petroleum in the refinery. So we click the refinery here. The refinery per day uses up 10 oxygen and 5 power to produce 100 fuel. And the distillation process, and that's like a passive per day. The distillation process converts crude petroleum into fuel faster. So we'll use up 120 petroleum to create 150 fuel and a lot of byproduct radiation and heat, which is exactly why I just counted the heat. Exhaust all petroleum reservoirs in the sector. So here's one, and we need to find the other one. If I click the radar mode, you can see that there are hotspots to the south, one to the southeast, and then some right here, and we need to find the other petroleum node. To exhaust it, of course, we need to do extractions. So here's another petroleum extraction, and I want to make sure that I have room for the petroleum in storage, because going over our petroleum max would be pretty wasteful. Are the tiles procedural or random? They're procedural, as far as I know, but some of the events are a bit more random. We've also unlocked an innovation. Drilling adds a small amount of random resource. Nice. Is there anything I can do about this heat? No. Not at the moment. Ooh, I randomly got some water from drilling. So what I'm trying to do here is drill out the back of this underground lake, but realizing that it is adjacent to the magma, I'm gonna have to build the pump here. So let's go ahead and build a water pump. Finally. Because our water supply is going down. Additionally, let's see. Power and oxygen are in positive. I think it would be a good idea to get a laboratory as well. So I'll build one of those over here. These kind of rocks on the edge here are like the edge of the world. You can't build beyond them, which is why I'm lining my buildings alongside them, because I know they won't get in the way of drilling. And I will use some filtration to reduce heat and radiation. These magma are becoming fairly problematic because they are really ramping up the temperature here. Character unlocked, Chemist. Alright. Opening up the Chemist. We got the Chemist because we built the laboratory. Salt decomposition. Splits heavy metal salts to produce oxygen and reduce radiation. So if our radiation levels get really high. Here's one I really like, which is the endothermic chlorination, a chain of chemical reactions producing cold gas, significantly reducing the temperature. It does cost a lot of power, but let's use it because we were getting kind of hot. And then the timed ultimate ability is crystalline cracking, which uses a whole lot of fuel, but produces power, and it cracks these crystals. These like quartz-like crystals. Additionally, one of the things that got released in our last drilling is a rhizome. A rhizome is a dangerous mass of roots of undefined nature. Can be harmful to equipment and even buildings in proximity. Basically, it will destroy things around it, which is no good. But I don't have anyone... Oh no, that's not true. The foreman can use 120 fuel to basically saw blast a rhizome. So I just used his special ability. It is now on a 7-day cooldown. And we killed the rhizome as a result. We have a decent amount of space for more fuel. So let's go and do a distillation process. Freeing up room for petroleum, which we'll do a extraction process. And one of the 2 petroleum reservoirs in the sector are now exhausted. So one thing that... There's a few... I don't know if they're intended or bugs. It's a bit of a head scratcher, so I can't say with any certainty one way or another. But one of the weird features of this game is... you'll notice some of the buildings have this deactivate building icon here. And what I have found through gameplay is deactivating a building will only keep it deactivated for a turn, and then it will show as deactivated, but it will actually be active, which is really confusing. On top of that, a lot of the buildings that, like this drill, for instance, is not producing anything per day anymore, so we can recycle it, because all it's doing is draining fuel and power to keep it running. Alternatively, we can upgrade it to a drilling rig, which I think I'm going to do, if we had more power. So let's get a little bit of power for that by burning some oxygen to produce power, because I have max oxygen. And then... Oh, you know what? I don't have my base upgraded. Never mind. It's not something I can do. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this tile, because that harvester doesn't serve a purpose anymore. And what we need to be doing is looking for the last petroleum reservoir. So we open up the radar map. It's possible it's down this way, so I'm going to keep digging this direction to the south. Kilgore, thank you for the resub. And Cathanon, like 20 minutes ago. I totally missed that. Sorry. So some other things. Now that I have a laboratory, I do have the ability to research my first technology. And I'm going to have you guys choose the tech. What tech to research? So the way this works is these technologies will roll over to future, like any of the innovations that you unlock and any of the technologies that you unlock will roll over to the next chapter. So they're semi-permanent choices. Additionally, it's worth mentioning that some of the more advanced structures are built with tech points. So it's also incredibly reasonable to save one technology point so that you can build something special. So I'm going to include save it for building as an option always. And I'll read, I'm just typing up these options right now, but I'll read them to you as well. So we have station generator, decoy, and grenade launcher. The station generator allows your city to generate a small amount of power passively. The decoy allows you to throw a device that generates vibrations to attract blind creatures. It also detects nearby biological threats using echolocation. And then the grenade launcher allows radio towers and outposts that you build to hit multiple targets with grenades. So here are your choices. I don't need to spend the tech point right now. I can hold on to it and have you guys vote. So 2.5 minutes on that poll. I'm also going to fire up the water pump. Filling our water up a bit because we were running low. And I'm going to build another generator because I was out of power today. So having even more power is worth it. Now, backing up to like the 35,000 foot view, in terms of like a general strategy, making sure you're using all of your Terranauts, all of your crew, is smart. Basically, unemployed people aren't contributing. So having a bunch of buildings producing resources is better than a bunch of those Terranauts sitting around with their thumbs and plums, if that makes sense. So when I first was learning this game, I was trying to like min-max economy and be really efficient. And what I'm saying essentially is don't. It's not to say that I want to employ them in pointless roles, but it doesn't hurt to have a bunch of Terranauts working in a bunch of facilities, even if those facilities aren't necessarily yielding immediate results. Because at the end of the day, you have to support the city anyway. So you're essentially spending power and oxygen and everything to keep your Terranauts alive, so you might as well put them to work. It is getting rather hot, so in Yodaville, I'm going to hit filtration. Or not hot, but radioactive, I should say. And you guys want me to maybe save this point for building? There's a little bit more time to vote, if you'd like. Oh boy! So here is a cocoon. Eggs of a species unknown to science, covered with a protein coat. Slimy, warm to the touch, they throb rhythmically and smell of rotten meat. Make you want to burn them. Opening up a classification, I'm going to do an analysis. It's going to use up some of my innovation points. But I would like, because it's a cocoon, and at the moment at least inert, I would like to study it. Alright, looks like we're saving it for building. Copy that. Tutorial. You've discovered cocoons of an unknown creature. Attack them using the impulse ability. To activate the ability, use your station, click on the target icon. I guess I will. 25 damage. What am I listening to? I don't even know. All right, let's go ahead and pump up the rest of the water in this underground lake. And it's exhausted. Which means that this pump can go bye-bye. As can the exhausted tile. I'm going to impulse laser the cocoon. It's down to 50 of the original 100 health. And we are drilling to the north because this is one of the spots that might have a petroleum lake. Maybe. Nope, it is a tunnel. An earthquake is coming. It will most certainly damage or even destroy some of your buildings. You can gather your people at the station and switch the mobile mode ability on. Oh, well, that tooltip disappeared pretty quick. But basically, you have an ETA of when an earthquake is going to come. And it's usually best to get out of Dodge before it, like, trashes your face. So the game is kind of warning me about that. And I am desperately trying to find where I might get some petroleum at. We'll just keep hitting that thing with impulse lasers. Temperature and radiation looks pretty good. Don't need to manage that, so end turn. Whoa, boy! Earthquake. So, in this case, basically all of my buildings took significant damage. Once a building gets damaged enough, it will cease to work. But in this case, the tutorial on the left just suggested to do a total repair, to spend a lot of fuel to repair all the buildings at once. And that's going to be a pretty good bang for my buck. So clearly, this tile up here was a cocoon. So if we're looking for petroleum, I think it's likely behind this cocoon down there. So I wiped out the cocoon to the south. And then the cocoon to the north, I'm going to start insecticiding to try to get it killed. While we look for the way out. Well, that's not good. Humpback crawler. Humpback crawler, a writhing creature covered in chitinous shell. Its segmented body leaves trails of corrosive slime. In darkness, you can hear horrifying scrapings of its numerous limbs. It is photophilic, meaning it is attracted by light, and devours building platings to restore its health. So basically, it consumes your buildings to heal itself. Cool. Well, if it's photophilic, the engineer has the ability to throw a flare. So let's throw a flare over there to try to keep it away from things that are important to us. While we shoot it, study it, and poison it. So it is now a higher priority than the cocoon. Temperature and radiation look okay-ish. And taking a look at the radar map. Oh, the cocoon up here just died. Nice. I will dig here. So the study ability did yield the biological results that we were hoping for, yeah. Yep, and we just got it from the humpback crawler too. The 150 biosamples, which then we can weaponize and use against the critters. Oh! Abandoned sealed barrels of crude petroleum were found. Who on Earth would leave such a treasure behind? Effect plus 300 petroleum. Well, here's the thing. I don't really have room for the petroleum, so let's go and start to refine it. The refining process added heat and radiation, so I'm going to filter that out. This humpback crawler is at 48 health. Let's shoot it. Critical! And that gave us an innovation. We hit a threshold of innovation points. So now, double impact. There's a 25% chance the outpost will fire twice. Awesome. And taking a look at the radar map, we are now digging in the hot spots indicated. So there's this hotspot over here, and these hotspots over here, and we're starting to dig there. It was blocked by that that horror a minute ago. Is there a danger to colonists if it gets too cold? Yes. So if you mouse over it, it will say there's a min and max, and outside of tolerance, a lot of alarm bells will start ringing. It's very easy to notice. The game is like, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, and you have to deal about it, or you die. But don't worry, there's plenty of warning when that is gonna happen, and I'm sure it's gonna happen to us. A giant shell. A shell of an enormous creature. It could fit a 10-story building, but it's empty now. You can only hope this species is long extinct, though deep down, you know this is not the case. I don't like it. And those kind of critters outgrow the shells to find bigger ones. It's not so good. Alright, so some of the other buildings I haven't made. I have not built a radio tower yet, so let's just, for why not, let's build one of those. And I also don't have a repository. I will build one of those as well. And everything else looks fine. There's the petroleum. Lovely. So we have a cocoon that got revealed, and also the node of petroleum. So let's go ahead and set up a harvester here. Start digging out around the petroleum. The radio tower has the ability to, once through the mechanic, we can grenade things for fire type damage at the cost of fuel. And it can also be upgraded to an outpost eventually. And then you have the repository, which increases the capacity of petroleum. And it actually very slowly increases the amount of fuel that you have for whatever reason. Which is a nice effect. And let's impulse laser. Oh, I missed. But didn't try to impulse laser the cocoon down. There's one good hit. And now, with our harvester, we can start emptying out the petroleum reservoir here, which is our current goal, and we have 21 days before a major earthquake. So, like, the game is going, hey, get moving, dude. 10-4, copy that. And I'm trying to use up our resources because I don't really have room for all this petroleum and fuel. Use up the resources to adjust the temperature and all that. A rhizome. Luckily for me, the engineer's ability was on cooldown. It's been a week, so I just hacked that rhizome to bits. I do have space for petroleum, so let's harvest it again. And then run our refinery to turn some of that petroleum into fuel, so I have more room for more petroleum. We are now maxed on fuel. And that cocoon is done. We crit murdered it. So one more day, and we should have this petroleum reservoir emptied out. I have enough resources to upgrade the station. Sure, let's do it. Station from level 1 to level 2. Turning some of that petroleum into fuel. Turning some of that petroleum reservoir into storage. We have now exhausted both reservoir, and it is instructing me to find an exit point and leave the sector. So it wants me to go down this mystery tunnel. Good job. The way to the next sector is clear now. Switch the station to mobile mode and leave the sector by moving to the tunnel. Gonna get rid of this harvester. And we have really high radiation and temperature. So with the convector, let's fix some of that. Yeah, should be good. Building unlocked, drilling rig. Building unlocked, boiler. Building unlocked, hydrogen generator or hydro generator. Building unlocked, concentrator. Building unlocked, turbo pump. Building unlocked, terminal. Building unlocked, outpost. This is a result of having a level 2 city. So we're going to, before I do anything, I'm going to do cheerful music, which plays music for the crew to raise morale, although our morale is currently normal. I'm going to hit transformation, which uses a little bit of fuel, and start moving our city to the exit point before the mega earthquake murders us all. And there we go. That is the first chapter. Cheers. The tutorial chapter, which has a lot of hand-holding and guardrails and weak enemies. Mission accomplished. Expedition last. Week 4, Day 3. Creatures killed 5. People survived 117. I think the earthquake claimed 2. Thank you for tuning in to Anoxia Station, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow survivors deep in the subterranean underground.